Last time, I asked Trishul a question about college majors and future careers, and he never actually answered the question. Today, I'm going to make him.
Welcome to the Mind Money Spectrum podcast, where your hosts, Aaron Agti and Trishul Patel, go beyond traditional finance questions to help you explore how to use your money to achieve the freedom you want in life.
Hi, my name is Aaron Agti. I'm a financial advisor in the Bay Area. I'm here with Trishul Patel, a wealth manager on the East Coast.
Hey, Aaron, great to be here today. And thanks everybody for listening and watching to episode 156.
Great to be here as well. So last time I was trying to casually ask Trishul for help and advice. My daughter's a high school freshman. We're starting to plan out what she's going to do for college. And Trishul was not helpful at all. No help whatsoever.
Right.
So today, Trishul, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine. We're going to do a little thought experiment.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Eyes are closed.
Okay. Your daughter is, we'll say, a senior in high school. She's been a pretty good student. Okay.
Yep.
Pretty good student.
Yeah.
She gets into Cornell, the University of Florida, the University of Miami, I'll say Duke, and University of North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. You went to
my
Cornell.
eyes are still closed, right?
I guess you don't have to be closed, but it helps the imagining part.
Sure.
So again, it's your alma mater, 2 public universities that are in state for you.
Okay.
Another private, well-regarded university in the Southeast, and another out-of-state public school.
Yeah.
They're all good schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
She gets a full ride to all of them.
Okay.
She has scholarships because she's been a good high school student. Okay.
Yeah.
And she's coming to you and she's asking for your help of which school should she choose?
Right.
And should she declare a major? And if so, what major?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that conversation go like?
Oh boy. Huh. Well, I think by then we might have some idea of where her interests lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where her just natural inclinations lie. Is it more on the engineering side, more on the arts and sciences side?
Let's say she takes after you, has both a strong mathematical engineering kind of mind, but a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit because she's been going to the Montessori schools for a long time.
Yeah.
So she has a decent amount of options ahead of her.
Yeah. And this is where we got hung up last time. Mm-hmm. She has to go to college. So what are you saying?
No. She does not.
Okay. Okay.
But she would like to.
Yeah.
Because she got full ride. So I've removed that opportunity cost part of it.
Oh,
and she's asking for your help, asking for your advice.
I'm going to push back a little bit because there's still an opportunity cost of 4 years of not being able to work.
Okay. Are you going to try and convince your high school senior age daughter who has gotten full rides to all of these schools to not go?
Again, still an opportunity cost, right? Senior right now. Am I going to try to convince her to not go? Okay. Now, does she have an internship that she already has undertaken and then potentially
she had like a summer job somewhere that paid a little minimum wage just to give her some. She's again relatively normal teenager that did well in school.
Yeah,
she had a summer job at, I don't know what's around you that would be a good summer job. She worked at the mall. She worked at an ice cream shop.
So you're stacking the deck a bit, saying that she's
I am.
in your favor.
No, what I'm trying to say is in most of the country's favor.
Most of the country doesn't have free education.
Okay, that's okay, but
the university of the choice. That's the part I'm talking about.
Okay, that's fair. I'll acknowledge that. But yes, she got into these schools
Okay, I'm being difficult. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll try to answer your
That's why
question.
I'm going to make you answer this question.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have to pick the school for her.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You could try to convince her not to go, but
Right.
I'm curious. She said she's already applied. She's already
Yeah.
gotten full rides,
Yeah.
and she now can choose from these schools,
Yeah.
and she's asking for your help.
Yeah. So maybe one of my first questions is, do you want to go? Right? Is this something
Okay.
you're interested in doing? Let's try to get some understanding there. Part of what goes through my mind is, again, it's a bit of a different scenario because she has a full ride, and that's something that you want to think about concertedly. For example, in the option pricing world, what's the minimum price of a call, right?
Wouldn't that just be the current stock price? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it'd be like a deep out of the money call. The cheapest it'll
Oh,
get
I see. I see.
is a penny, meaning it can't
Okay.
go
Okay.
negative,
Yeah.
meaning it
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
some value no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So another way to say that is like never turn down a free option, right?
Okay.
Because it's free,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It has some intrinsic value you want to think about. So don't dismiss it right away. So yeah, I would say, look, if it is free, does she have free room and board too?
Yep. All right.
Well, then, yeah, sure. Go. And then you can also work if you want while you're there, right?
Okay.
And try out both at the same time, I guess, right?
Again,
So,
but
yeah, I would.
So it's
I w-
the what's the help? How do you help with the decision making process?
oh,
Which
in terms of which school?
and
Yeah,
do you think it's feasible if she went into engineering to
yeah.
also have the time and energy to pursue work outside of school? Does
Well,
she want to
and
do it part time and it might take longer? And so that's like decision
yeah,
making process,
yeah,
not final answer.
right, yeah. And again, this is different than what it would have been like 10, 15 years ago,
Hmm.
in terms of my
Yeah.
recommendation. Certainly different than what I would have told my younger self, just
Hmm.
because it's different now.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
I agree.
So, I would say think about a program that'll get you the most practical skills as quickly as possible, such that you can apply them sooner rather than later.
Such
So,
as.
right. So there may be some programs that focus more on um, taking what you learn and doing like an externship right away, right?
Mhm.
Or providing some ability to have an apprenticeship while you're learning, or there's some, on-campus incubator that you can team up with,
Mm.
and things like that. So I think if it is on the engineering side, that's what I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I don't know which of the four is kind of pioneering um, in that mindset, but
Okay.
well, for example, with Cornell, the engineering program in computer science was very theoretical. I think I've mentioned this before.
Mhm.
You learn the science of computing, meaning
Yep.
you learn about like proofs and refutations and probability theory and logic and gates and stuff like that
Yep.
before you even think about the whole programming aspect, which is the practical side.
Yeah.
So you end up with a good foundation in the science of computing, right? And how computers or computational theory works, right? In
You start thinking like,
principle.
what are the actual limitations of the machines themselves?
Yeah, or just like what is a machine and what is something that's computable, and then you
Mm.
get into the math of like orders of magnitude and completeness theorems and things like
Yeah.
that, right? So it's hard to take that and turn it into a job to make money, but
Yeah.
it's a really good foundation. But I think, interestingly now, I think I would tend to favor something that you really just get to work and start using tools before they accelerate away from you,
Okay.
is what I would say. Like right now, you're on the precipice of, if you can get ahead of this curve, you can start using these tools and kind of be a little bit of a step ahead. And that's an issue we raised last time, right? Like, what if you fall
Is
behind the curve, and then can you ever catch up to the AIs?
if she is interested in a hard science, like a chemistry or physics or biology, where she can have some lab experience, actually doing
Yeah,
experiments in undergrad, would you
right.
consider that on that path of work experience along with school?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, like even as an undergraduate, you can team up, with a professor and help on their research,
Mhm.
right? That they need, like grunt work, but that's the best way to learn, I'd say. Right? Like if they're doing a research project in a certain area and they need somebody to pipette things,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. That's the kind of experience I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, did the actual schools? So again, I gave your alma mater. I gave 2 public schools that are in Florida,
Yeah.
one a little farther from you, one closer to you, and
Yeah.
a couple other Duke and University of North Carolina, UNC, like other good name
Yeah.
schools, but not in state.
Right.
Did that factor into your decision-making process at all?
Well, okay, a couple of things that is ancillary to that, but not so much. I would say think about weather because,
Okay.
being spoiled in Florida. Oh boy, Ithaca is cold. Like, so I would think twice
Okay.
before even considering going up north, unless you really like the cold, because that's something to think about. I think also think about the size of the school. What I learned kind of organically over my career is after I graduated, I started working at just small companies, and it was such a much better fit for me. And
Mm,
Cornell is like a very large institution. It's like a small city, and many of these schools are,
yeah.
right? So, what I found being at startups for the majority of my career is I could have so much of a greater impact because it was just a smaller group of people trying to push things forward. So I would say if that is where she kind of excels at with the small side, then put that as a variable in the equation, a
That's an
parameter.
interesting perspective.
Yeah.
UCLA also a very large school,
Yeah.
large student population, and I was having a conversation with someone else who went to a smaller school, and we're trying to compare the differences. And they were saying like they got a lot of like counselor help. Like they could always go to someone to figure out which classes to take, what like majors and or careers suited them. There's a lot of staff help per student. Where at UCLA, there were directories and there were people available to you if you sought them out. All
Hmm.
information was online at this point, and a lot of you had to kind of figure out for yourself. Like,
Hmm.
here's the rubric, here's the classes you need to take to get your degree, here's the schedule. Here, you are this point in line in terms of choosing your classes. How do you make sure that you get your classes you need in time to graduate when you want to?
Yeah. Right.
And when I was done with school, like that kind of figure it out for yourself skill that I'd spent 4 years building really paid off. The other similar example, my wife was an engineer at UCLA.
Wait, before
Oh,
you go to something
sorry.
else, did it not pay off from your friend? What's the control? Like,
That's a good fair point. She was saying like, I think like still relied on parents for advice
uh-huh.
a little bit, just kind of like life advice.
Right.
But again, I wanted to add the second part because I don't know how much of it is the school I went to versus just
Yeah.
my particular
N equals
experience.
one.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the other example I've given parents is my wife was an engineer, and two things. One, the engineering program was really hard. It just took up a lot of her hours.
Yeah.
Two, her parents didn't want her to have a student job.
Hmm.
So she was able to focus on schoolwork.
Hmm.
I was there on mostly scholarships, but I had no extra money, so I did get a student job,
Right.
and I was actually had time to do 2 majors. So it's actually applied math and philosophy. And so we've graduated. Her income was twice mine as a
Okay.
college graduate computer engineer, and I was
Yeah.
going into entry-level finance. Literally twice the
Okay.
salary.
Yeah.
But I paid all the bills and did all the household finance stuff, all the taxes, all the like signing up for cable and utilities. Like I was
Yeah.
doing all of that because I'd already been doing that for the 2 years prior.
Right.
And so I really get what you say about trying to get to work experience as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I also think about life experience, like
Yeah.
learning how to make a deposit for a rent at our apartment for the first
Yeah.
time, kind of thing. And again, that you don't need college to learn that stuff.
hmm
But these are the things I think that perspective of, do you want to go to a big school or a small school, that matters. Do you need more help and guidance along the way, or are you thrown in the deep end and it's sink or swim?
It's interesting. So my experience working at a small company led me to the impression that with a smaller company, you get more independence and less
Mhm.
structure, which is
I,
kind
I
of
agree.
the opposite, or not entirely aligned with, you know, the point you were trying to make. Because what I found with a smaller company is you didn't have to be boxed into a certain role
Mhm.
and stay in that, and then move up the staircase as and go throughout the organization, right? The org chart was so flat that literally, if you saw acumen in this area, you just started working in that area, and
Yeah.
then it could work out for you.
So I
So
actually I think that the large school and the small company,
yep.
I think they're with similar perspectives, because I agree. The large school, there's like no guidance. The small company, there's no guidance.
Yeah.
It's a
What's
lot of figured out just for yourself.
maybe what I'm trying to say just doesn't port over to small school, large school in the way I thought it would, because in my mind, again, I don't know, because I didn't go to a small school,
Mhm.
but I thought maybe with the small school you could just decide to make lateral moves left and right and pull in people across different disciplines, or um different sub schools within the university more easily. I figured there would be less bureaucracy.
Oh, there's definitely more bureaucracy. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's part of, like, there's already established paths that are like, you have 2,000 paths at the big school,
Yeah.
and figuring out which of those 2,000 paths is the skill you're learning.
Yeah.
There's 200 paths at the small school,
Yeah.
but you could create a 201st if you wanted to.
Yeah. Like, for example, I notice sometimes when the organizations get larger, there tends to be a siloing of disciplines and a less tendency to have cross department
Okay.
interactions, because you basically form your own city, between
Mhm.
in the engineering school. And within that engineering, you have your own town or suburb of your computer
So
science people, and
I
so
also want to feel
on.
like you're like conflating, like, working at a university versus
Yeah.
a student at the university.
Yeah, again, I don't. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to push this analogy, because I don't know what it's like in a small school. I'm
Okay.
just,
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
I'm
Um,
just trying to.
but the idea of considering school size
Yeah,
is an important part of the decision-making process.
maybe I'm like
Whether
now skeptical. of
okay,
what like my
weather
half
is a
baked notion.
factor.
If I'd say weather, yeah, weather's good to think about.
Okay.
And yeah, practicality of curriculum, I'd say would be pretty much up there. The ability to collaborate closely with professors. Like I
Okay.
do remember at Cornell, a, l- a large percentage of my classes were like in auditoriums where you
Okay.
had over 100 or 200 students, and a lecturer at the front.
That's
And
really so.
yes, and I think that's just a bit antiquated, right? The In
Okay,
terms of
this is again like that n equals one kind of thing. Like, for me, I think I had the number of classes I had over 30 students was probably under a dozen over 4 years. And they were all like entry-level GE classes.
Yeah, no, that's not how it was.
All my math classes as a math major were, I think it's, as a math major, my math classes were 30 students or smaller. If
Wow.
you were a non-math major, you're an
Yeah.
English major taking a in like calculus class, a math class as your GE, that's a 500-person lecture.
But then you had that same 500-person lecture, but done for 30 kids in the math program?
It was probably most of the students who were studying math took that calculus course in high school.
Oh, okay. So like Calc 3, like linear algebra, was it still not? What happens to the 200 people who aren't?
They don't need to go to that level of math because they're not math majors. And so for me, that was going across to, like, I probably had a couple, before I declared philosophy as a major, I probably had a couple of philosophy classes that were that big. But it's one of those things, like, I satisfied my philosophy GE as part of my part of liberalist part, and then I took more classes to get the second major, and those classes got small.
But wait, help me out here. How many math majors were there in your class?
Probably a couple hundred.
Okay. Well,
and just scheduling, it's like you split those off across 4 or 5 classes, because we're not all, because we're not all taking the same class at the same time.
Okay, yeah, like I feel like we had about 200 computer scientists.
400 is too big. Maybe, probably 200 math majors or so.
Yeah, so like we had about 200 computer scientists in our major, and I feel like it was the same 200 in like the same classes. Maybe they split them in half, but that was my general impression.
No, we had you probably had the same math class, like, with 3 different times in the day. So you had like one professor teach it at 9 a.m., one at 10 or 11, one at 2 p.m., something like that.
Here's the other interesting thing that I was reflecting on not too long ago. Would it have made any difference? Like, do you find like you did your real learning from the lectures?
I think it did. I think it does create a little bit of a, like, opportunity to ask questions. If you like don't quite follow something, professors were very happy to talk to and interact with the students, to make sure they got stuff.
So that's it. I'm gonna bring this up from 2 perspectives. One, like, I'm introverted, so I've never asked a question. In a lecture.
I ask questions all the time.
So I think that might explain a little bit. Like, I went 4 years of undergrad without raising my hand.
Without raising your hand. So now I want to seek out the large lectures that you could, like, hide in the crowd.
Wait, I can't hear you. What happened to the sound? I think this happened once before.
Okay. Did you seek out the large lectures where you could hide in the crowd?
I don't know if you can hear me, Aaron.
Oh, yes, I can. Let's see.
Okay, so I think Aaron, his voice is probably still recording if that's what happened last time. But then he jumped back out and back in. Maybe that's what did it.
I will try refreshing.
I can't hear you. Okay, so, well, while he's coming back in, I'll explain where I was kind of coming up from with that. Essentially, I remember in lectures that.
Okay.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I could hear you the whole time, but it's okay. I was asking, like, I wonder if you sought out the large lectures so that you could hide in the crowd.
Yes, I know that now. Yeah. So, oh boy, I wasn't a good student when it came to lectures. I don't think I went to most of them, to be honest, or I slept through the majority. So this is the conclusion I came to. I think.
No, I'm wondering, like, maybe I shouldn't be asking you about college at all. Like, it sounds like you just did not enjoy it. You did not get the benefits of it. Like you were
Yeah,
supposed to get
I'm
out
a
of there as soon as
bad example. Like, my end conclusion towards the end was like, I'll just figure it out myself, and I'll show up to the exams. I don't
Did
kind of.
did you do any like intramural sports or student clubs or activities?
Uh, probably like, um, like tag football and like ultimate frisbee stuff like that. It's not like real sports
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's more
just
like clubs.
yeah.
Like
Did you
like
do any of
not.
those?
And what is intramural? Is that like
Intramural is
between?
you play only against other students at the same school.
Okay, yeah, so sure, right, or like pickup games and stuff
Yeah.
like that, or with Cornell, you can go skiing and stuff like that, like at the.
Did you go do that?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yeah. But engineering did keep us kind of busy as well, so there was a lot of project work, I guess, and
Okay.
yeah, so that's where a lot of the actual time happened. Well, okay, so the other point I was going to make is, again, I'm probably not the best example, but the other thing I was going to say is, now I don't know how much valuable is that lecture, because you could
Okay.
just, if you have a question, ask the AI, and it'll probably tell you an even more in-depth answer than the professor, because you can have a Socratic conversation back and forth, and every student can do this,
Okay.
right.
It's time for the next question.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, let me not derail
Okay.
whatever answer. So hopefully I answered your question.
There's actually a decent segue, and you'll see it in a second. So again, I if your daughter got into those schools,
Yeah,
you aren't necessarily going to talk her out of going to school, but you are going to prioritize job experience as soon as possible, work experience as soon as possible,
yeah,
things like weather, school size, like practical learning.
yeah.
You
Practical learning.
you
Yeah.
want to get away from theories and foundational work. You want to get
Well,
next level.
not only for that reason, but I think because in the past the notion was you learn a bunch of stuff, and then in 4 years you start using it all. And I think the paradigm can shift a bit to just learning directly and applying directly. So the reason I say that is
Okay.
because
Go ahead.
now we have tools that allow that, right? We don't need to have a lecture and then wait 2 months for the exam before we see how well you've picked it up. There is a way to iterate and learn and apply on the fly, essentially.
Okay. Okay. I I do wonder. So I part of the thing undergrad is that learning how to learn idea.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
it's the figuring out, do you prefer a lecture with auditory? Do you prefer reading something?
Yeah,
Do you need interaction, the ability to ask questions and
right.
clarify things? So like, learning your learning style is a big thing.
Yeah,
So that when you get out into the real world, you need to learn how to do a job. You know your learning process. You know how to learn.
right. Yeah.
It sounds like you're guessing students will start learning how to learn at a younger age.
Yeah, that's certainly my hope. The understanding is now you should be able to learn how to learn, the moment you can move a mouse around or point and click on a screen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Next question.
sure.
Do you think Mark Zuckerberg would have created Facebook if he didn't go to Harvard?
Facebook specifically?
Kind of. So have you seen The Social Network? Like enough to understand the story?
I think so. Did he create it as a freshman in the dorm, something like that?
I don't know if he was a freshman. He created it in dorms, and
Okay.
it was
What was he? A sophomore or?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
But it was
Okay.
originally just like downloading pictures from
Yeah.
publicly available sites of students. I think that started like a Hot or Not kind of thing, where they were
Yeah.
doing it like just sorority pictures of.
Yeah.
But it was this idea of starting to create social networking, that's the social media kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he had the friends and people to create the network part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's
Yep.
like is limited to Harvard students. They had to have a harvard.edu email address.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it created like this like constraint. And then they went to other schools, so you had to have that school's email address before it's available to the public. And so now when like, do you think he would have created Facebook if he didn't have the networking part?
Probably not. I mean, he created it as a way to bring students together, right? To allow students to, right? It's specifically engineered for that environment that he happened to be in. So
Correct.
like, but you know, now I think the question might be, would he be just as successful, right? Had he not gone and he'd done, not Facebook, right? And would
Okay.
not Facebook have grown just as big? Well, I think there's a combination of luck and timing as well, right? In that linear singular example. But so the answer is no, then he would not have created Facebook if he didn't go.
So like I believe Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer went to either high school together, or they were in the same like computer class in Seattle in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, I think they were like helping out with their like library at their high school or something.
Yeah,
And then
like is one of the first. So in terms of like the luck part of it, it's one of the first high schools to have a computer.
Right. Yeah.
And so like they just spent their teenage years using a computer before anyone else in the country did.
Yeah. Right.
And so again, I come back to that idea of like the networking part mattered. I don't think. I don't think Bill Gates or Steve Ballmer would have done it themselves, at least not to the same level. It was finding the other people to do the thing with.
Did Rockefeller go to college? Carnegie?
Do you think that's a relevant example at this stage?
Well,
I'm going to guess yes. In fact, I'm going to guess it went to like Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, because every rich person at that age went to one of those three schools.
Well, that you're tying into another point. Was it because also Gates and and Zuck came from more affluent backgrounds?
Let's see. You keep talking about your example, and I'll look up Rockefeller.
Oh, okay. So the institution of university being important is something I brought up last time, is like a 60-year-old notion, right? That the notion that everybody must go because, look at the relative success of those that went versus didn't.
Okay.
And I think there's some sort of bias that we should be attuned to, that just because that was true for like a generation or two, does that mean that should persist, A, indefinitely, or B, for one more generation?
Okay.
So I'm not saying it shouldn't right off the bat, but I think it's something we should challenge it a bit, because things have changed and things are changing pretty drastically. For example, when I started undergrad, there wasn't really a notion of online learning, right? Or like, but then when towards the end of my schooling, lectures started to be videotaped, right? And lecture notes started to be available online.
Yeah.
It went through my mind like, wait, 80% of my education was that. And the marginal cost of that has now dropped to zero.
Okay.
Right? Because most of the courses I took were just large lectures. And now fast forward like 10 years, and you had all the top Ivy Leagues, or many of the top Ivy League schools like Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, they just put all their lectures for free online.
Yeah, no, I think couple years after graduating, my wife and I did a couple Stanford courses that doing the
Yeah,
same
I think
thing.
Stanford has all of them online now. Like any
Yeah.
undergraduate course, you can take the actual course and learn the actual things and have the actual
Yeah.
notes. So again, the marginal cost of the bulk of what was thought to be education, higher education, has dropped to zero. And
Uh,
now,
okay.
I'm going to
I
talk about the
acknowledge
networking
that
part.
the content
Yeah.
part is not the driving value of college. It's not an ivory tower. It's not like you have to get access to this library to get the information.
Yeah, so let me address that. So I think college is, I think what you're trying to say is two parts, right? The actual knowledge and education, and then the networking side, right? And the fuzzier things. Let's call it the fuzzier things.
I'll say the fuzzy things because I think that learning how to learn part.
Yeah.
I think the networking part and not quite the same, but like growing into adulthood in a safe space kind of thing. But that's
Yeah, right.
lower
Yeah.
level.
Okay, yeah. Now, okay, let's put those two parts and think about them independently, right? You have that whole education part, and I think a lot of people think, okay, the higher education, they must be doing something to teach these kids important things in a good way, and that's why it costs 100,000 a year. If you're looking from the outside, like, why is this Ivy League education so great? Well, they have the best professors and the best classrooms to teach them in.
I don't think that's the case.
Well, I think it's part of the marketing, right? Or the allure. I don't think it is the case. And I'm going to make my case is
think
that,
it's part of the allure anymore either. I think
well,
everyone's aware that the knowledge that they gain is available for free.
well, okay, I'm going to talk about both sides, but I just want to make sure we're fully agreed that half of that whole college picture is basically something that's free. Let me address the other part in just a second.
So hold on.
Okay.
I think it's part. I think it's a little bit closer to the almost like our job or a personal trainer. Like
yeah.
If you want to lose weight, just start running and eat less. Yeah. You, Trishul, don't need to hire a personal trainer.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who do. And having the structure for people to learn material in a way that's conducive to them learning when they don't necessarily have the individual drive and ambition to go out and seek it for themselves yet. I think providing that structure is valuable. The material itself, less so. The accountability and guidance and here are 2,000 paths that you can take. But if you decide on a path, there's a lot of help to people having those like next steps.
So I think the stuff you're mentioning now, again, this is semantics, but let's talk about this Socratically. I think that might still fall under the fuzzy side, meaning it's not the core knowledge, it's how they're executing the transfer of that knowledge. And what they're also saying is the people who are going to transfer it to you, these are at these certain institutions, they're at the top of their field. And that's why you want to go there, right? Because you get to collaborate with them one-on-one when they lecture to you and things like that.
So so I don't, I think you're trying to like, why go to Harvard when you can go to the local community college? Or the local in-state public university. Okay. Like why is the cost of those so different? And I don't think it's education based. I think it's market demand. Just the population of the United States has gone up so much, and the population of students applying to college has gone up so much. They can charge that much more because of basic supply and demand pricing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying, but but essentially it's
you're trying to tell people let's lower the demand. Stop trying to go to Harvard. It's
Not
not
not necess-
not worth
it-
it.
Well, okay. Here's why I think colleges are so expensive. It's because there's more demand than supply, right?
Yes. There's more
And
demand supply, and uh, colleges now, almost as brands, know to attract students who will pay all the dollars, they have to provide all of the other ancillary benefits outside of the education part.
yeah, the fuzzy
So
stuff.
it's not just fuzzy, it's actually like student gyms, it's clubs and facilities on campus that contribute to the college lifestyle, but not the education at all.
I call
Okay.
that a bit fuzzy. I mean, it's just semantics, but I'm saying it's
Yeah,
not the core education part, right? It's
correct. It is not
other.
the material.
Yeah. So, okay. The reason I say supply and demand is, for example, the policies that the United States has taken have basically driven up demand, right? It's created more demand by subsidizing the ability to get into education with loans and things like that,
Mhm.
providing different types of subsidies for grants and stuff like that, so that people can access it more. But the actual supply hasn't kept up anywhere near where it has to be, right? And
Yeah,
you
we started to get to like,
basically
okay, so is this a question of like um climbing the social ladder kind of thing? Like
well,
like the only way for lower income households to get to the higher income level, that gateway has been through education, but as we tried to increase the supply of colleges, it decreased the quality of education, like for-profit universities, because it was subsidized by the government, and those were bad institutions, both like bad education and uh bad experience. Like it didn't actually help what college was when there was less supply.
well, I kind of see it where they increased the demand, but they didn't do anywhere near as much to increase the supply in a sensible way. Similar to like housing prices, right? They subsidize housing like crazy with low interest rates and all these programs to get into your first home. But the actual supply of housing hasn't kept up, so housing prices have skyrocketed. And similarly, I think with education, they subsidize education like crazy. And the mantra was everybody needs a college degree, but they haven't kept up with the number of spots for students. And what
Okay.
that meant is basically colleges charge more for the same product. It's that whole rent seeking conversation where the main reason college prices have gone up, if you ask the administrators of colleges, is because they can charge more.
So okay, now I want to like, because I live in California,
Yeah.
the University of California system is awesome from my
Mhm.
perspective. Again, I went to
Yeah.
UCLA, so I'm definitely biased.
Yeah.
But they have added colleges to the UC system, and so while the admission rate of UCLA specifically has gone down over the last couple decades, they have
Yeah.
more applicants, and the number of spots cannot increase faster at UCLA specifically.
Yeah.
But there are programs where I think if you finish in the top 10% of your high school class, you're guaranteed a spot in a at a UC school
Yeah.
for all California residents.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of opportunity for one of the UC schools
Yeah.
for the California high school students who really want to go.
Hmm.
So I wonder if like that, like seeing that grow does influence like my view on college, where yeah, I love my kids to go to UCLA, but I know how hard it is to get into. It's a lot harder to get into now than it was when I went to. But I'd be
Hmm.
happy if they went to any of the UC schools. And I think the
Well,
odds that they go to a UC school are fairly high.
here's the issue. I'm pretty sure UC schools in aggregate have increased their tuition prices above and beyond the price of inflation considerably over the last generation, even with the increased supply that you mentioned?
I'll say yes, but probably not as much as private schools.
Probably not, but I think in aggregate, it's still probably 1% or 2 of real
Yeah,
growth,
probably. I agree with that.
which is here's my issue. If what we just mentioned, half of the value of college, the core education part, the amount that it costs to disseminate that information, if the marginal cost of that has dropped considerably, has the other half made up its value? Is it providing twice the amount of
Oh,
value
all
that it
the
used to? All the
fuzzy
fuzzy
stuff.
stuff.
All the fuzzy stuff is that.
Yeah. Like, why is the
Okay.
fuzzy stuff so much more expensive now? Is it really more expensive now? And that's what I'm challenging. So when I think of value, I think of the fact that if you look at other things that people buy over the last generation, other consumer goods, for example, in a well-functioning economy without a lot of bureaucracy, their prices have dropped considerably with all these efficiencies. Right?
Okay.
Why hasn't that happened for education? If all of a sudden you have all of these options for disseminating information
So
so easily,
I
it should be cheaper, not more, unless they're better
so
fuzzying.
one I'm not sure that relating it to a like tangible consumer good is relevant. I wonder if it's closer to a service. And I don't know if prices of professional services have dropped relative to inflation at all. My guess would be that those have also gone up. And that I don't know.
So
That's a complete guess. I don't know that for sure, but like I don't think it's compared to prices of computers, and
yeah.
it's compared to prices of personal trainers and financial advisors, and
Okay,
CPAs and
so
lawyers and doctors.
yeah, so I think 3 specific areas, we mentioned this before, have risen above and beyond the price of inflation on a real basis,
Yeah,
right?
housing,
Education
education, and healthcare.
and healthcare, right? And all 3 are marred with these types of structural issues that make price discovery hard, that obfuscate the ability to figure out where the value is coming from, that try to subsidize demand without increasing supply, right? And it's leading to, I think, a similar issue across these domains.
Okay,
So yeah,
so real
the
quick,
supply of education, I think, is the actual knowledge transfer part, I think,
I agree.
shouldn't be an issue
I agree.
anymore.
So if your daughter wants to go to University of Florida,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say?
You mean back my
Yeah.
daughter, which
Yes,
is not
your
a
daughter.
senior
She
right
got a
now, or my
right.
hypothetical daughter who
Your
is
height. Your daughter. We'll say she's a senior next. No, she already got in. She's a senior now. She already got in.
okay, back to our hypothetical.
Yeah, she's already got
Yeah.
in. She's a senior. She wants to go to the University of Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just stand by whatever we said in the first third of the conversation, right? In terms of which one is going to give her the most practical skills as soon as possible.
So you're okay. What if she doesn't get an internship? She just is a regular college student, plays IM sports, goes to watch
Yeah.
University of Florida football games and basketball games, and joins clubs on campus, and gets a bachelor's degree, and then looks for a job. Then
Yeah.
are you gonna be
Here's the
disappointed?
risk. Here's the risk. So I mentioned this offline, but here's a good buzzword that I've heard over the past week or so that I think it's probably a good time to introduce. It's this notion of jobless growth, right? So essentially, what we're starting to notice with the current economy is the economy is doing great. Stocks are doing great. Companies are getting far more efficient. However, they're doing it with less people. In fact, they're realizing they don't need to hire so much at the entry level. And we mentioned that on the last episode. And the concern there is, or what we're trying to see, what we're seeing manifest is that individuals who are already employed at organizations who are beginning to adopt AI, they're getting quite efficient at what they do. Yeah, but the organizations themselves are realizing, hey, maybe we don't need as many entry-level folks as we thought we needed.
So
And
the one tweet commentary was the so AWS had their biggest crash ever.
yeah,
I think we're still trying to figure that part out.
we are,
Okay.
but this is one of those things where, I remember like 20 years ago, people were thinking that there's no way solar is going to catch up, to other types of fossil fuels, right? Because it was so early on that exponential growth curve that nobody even thought it was exponential. Capacity was just slowly chugging along. And, this is like computers 20, 30 years ago, where you have like 10 transistors, right? And now you went to 20, oh, big deal, right? But you add exponential growth to any of these areas, including the advancement of AI, and yeah, it may look like, you're stuttering right now, but once you hit that J curve, you just take off from there. It's hard to keep up.
Okay.
So, for example, when we first started using AI, when it first came out as a chatbot, we thought, okay, this is as good as like a toddler to interact with, 3 years ago. And about 2 years ago, it could maybe humble along like a high school student. And, maybe like a year or so ago, it was as good as like an entry level individual who graduated from university, trust but verify everything. And, now I personally use the AI not only in my career, but just literally everywhere, like all over the place. And I'm personally a ton more productive because of it. But we mentioned this in another conversation. I may not need to hire somebody because I'm able to lean on a lot more than I'm not, with the AI than without it.
Okay. Last question that may or may not kind of let you off the hook.
Yeah.
If your daughter asks, what skills should she try to learn from age 18 to 21?
Yeah.
What would you recommend? Skills that she needs to work on?
Yeah. The number one skill is how to learn, meaning if you're presented with something, how do you figure out the answer to that? And how do you deal with it? No matter what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little more?
Okay, so life skills. How do you create a budget? Well, you should be able to figure that out on your own now, right? You can ask the AI, "How do I create a budget?" Like, right, and just work through it. And how do you eat sensibly? How do you exercise properly? Right, all of those things. And if it says, "Hey, based on," or if you work with it and it says, "Hey, you're probably going to need a personal trainer," then yes, go out and get that trainer. How do you hire a trainer? Well, ask it, right? And you do all of that in terms of whatever's happening. If you can do that, what other main skill do you need, right? So think about any project that you're faced with that's practical. Like, let's say you team up and one of your projects in school is start a venture, right? And bring it to market. And you have 3 people in your group, right? Well, you should be able to do that. You should be able to look at supply chains and products and costs and come up with a business plan and figure out the financing and all of that.
Okay.
I'll give light examples now. Like my daughter's 8.
Yeah.
So, but she does use the GPT from time to time. Like she'll have it sitting next to her, and she might say, "Hey, I'm building. What was it recently? I'm building a puppet theater, right?"
Okay.
And she starts building it. She's like, "Hey, I need some ideas," and the GPT will say, "Well, have you thought of this?" Or put some animals. Like, "Oh, great." And then, "Oh, now I'm stuck on this. What do I do?" And it's a collaborative process like that. And she's doing stuff that she may not do otherwise, without a right hand man like that.
I think my biggest concern is almost like getting away from people skills, like the social skills, how to be a leader, how to influence, how to sell or convince, how to display empathy, like
Yeah.
that when I think about the social side of whether it's college or any group or organization,
Mhm.
I think like that need for social interaction goes back longer than technology or economies. Like this
Yeah.
is like evolutionary. Humans need that social interaction, and if you go down a path of only interacting with the AI,
Yeah.
that's a concern.
I can also see why you're more concerned as an extrovert in terms of
Uh, yeah, that's true. That's probably fair. Um, I also again I think that one of the skills we talk about like, is like psychology. I think that
yeah.
if you want to be actually a good financial advisor, psychology would actually be a huge benefit, like a great field to study. Like that's one of the majors we have talked about recommending to our daughter. Like here's psychology of learning how people think. It like psychology then business school. If we had to pick a path, psychology as an undergrad and then business school, and you learn
Mhm.
all the supply chain stuff and how to bring something to market.
Yeah.
Because I do think that I think I mentioned Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
I think that still matters.
I was gonna say, okay, so you could do that as a major, but can't you ask the AI, teach me this book and help me go out into the real world and apply it?
Oh yeah, I don't think it has to be a major. I think that's well. Um, so
Like,
again, it's
"Hey,
back to like
AI, create a curriculum
it's,
for me so that I learn all this in a
but you have
sensible
to
way,
actually go out into the world
and
and try
help
to
me go
apply
out
it.
into the world and apply it." Yeah,
That's
that's part
still
of it.
like it still requires you like going through uncomfortable conversations and
Yeah.
feeling rejection and then trying it again. And I don't think if you don't have like the other friend support trying to do that and like rely on AI to help you get over that rejection
Yep.
again and again and again to like get the practice reps of
Okay. So
dating. Like
here's my sales pitch. Okay, ready?
that's
It's
like, how do you learn
called
how to date?
okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's the other option for like the first third of my conversation. It's called Not Cornell, and instead of that $100,000 that you got as a scholarship going to the university, it goes into your pocket, right? You get to go to the dorm on Cornell, right? They're not paying for anything else, and you
Uh,
get to hang out with all the students,
okay,
but right? And you can use that 100,000 to subsidize, the room and board that you would be spending anyway, right?
okay,
So, but you interact with all the students and you do all of the learning the way that we discussed that you can do with a marginal cost of far less, right?
okay.
And there's half a dozen other kids in there, or half the people have decided to do not Cornell instead of Cornell who are in your dorm with you, right? So you
Okay.
can do the same, not Facebook or not whatever that Zuck did, with the same not friends that Zuck had, etc. Right?
Okay.
But you also get an extra 40 grand per year that's not going to the university, but going into your business, right? As startup funding.
Okay.
So, what would I encourage? Cornell or not Cornell? No, probably not Cornell.
You're still. I feel still like you're missing something. I don't know how. Like, you're missing that like
So you can do the
going
same.
through challenges as part, like failing as a team. I think that's what I think.
You can do that though at NotCornell, right? You can take your 3 roommates in your dorm and start a business.
But what if they don't like the business that you do?
Well,
How do you
I
find
mean,
the next people?
yeah. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the coordination of all of that. I don't think it takes um all the infrastructure we thought it used to take anymore.
I I maybe it does. Like I still think that there's like having a campus and all of the rooms and the gyms and like and meeting rooms and like student spaces. I, I still think there's a lot of value there, but two is like um that would be I was trying to think like, could you create a business? Could you create Not Cornell?
Yeah.
You're going to
Well,
create
okay.
the dorm and structure. Like that would be so capital intensive to build a campus.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the fuzzy the non-fuzzy stuff, the core education, we kind of said could be commoditized at this point.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to say is, well, what's so special about the fuzzy stuff? Can't that also be commoditized by some aspect? Meaning, can we fix that supply side of the equation where instead of having the same, 1 million university seats where we have 1.5 million students chasing for them, why not have 1.5 million university seats, full of Cornell and not Cornell, right? To keep price pressure under control, where the not Cornell has the facilities. They're not at Cornell, they're at not Cornell, but it's the same people, the same type of stuff, but it's not constrained by this
How do you
limited
make
artificial supply.
so one, like, how do you say it's the same people?
Well,
That
okay, so to go to
that's
not
one
Cornell,
thing.
you can have entrance exams. For example, we talked about that study, right?
Okay.
Like the
Yeah.
people who went to Cornell versus who went to not Cornell ended up with
Okay.
similar outcomes.
Okay.
So yeah, not Cornell can have its own entrance exams. My point is, let's not constrain the number of seats of
Um.
people artificially who want to go to
Oh.
higher
There
education.
is a comedy. Oh man. I'll send a link. It's a group of students that create their own university,
Yeah.
and then the guy who builds the website accidentally makes it clickable, so everyone who clicked on the application got accepted. That actually might be the name. That might be the name. Accidentally it's accepted,
Is that like
and
Van
so
Wilder or something?
it was close. It was again stupid college movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but the premise was like all the parents started sending checks for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So they had the funds and they got like an old mental hospital that was abandoned to create their
Right.
campus.
Yeah.
And they had to actually go through an accreditation process where they all created their own majors.
Yeah. Yeah. So to be honest, I think there is some concern with the accreditation process in the US as well, in terms of artificially creating these bottlenecks, right?
Okay.
Because I think my whole point with all of this is I think the supply is artificially constrained. It's not constrained because there's um not enough inputs to
Okay.
produce schools, right?
I'll come back to the idea of not Cornell. I try to figure like yeah, I'll think about that more later. Maybe next time. We'll design not Cornell.
Sure. Yeah. And
It's I think that I think the value of meeting other college students, interacting with other college students, and building up not just social skills, but like the ability to work as a team in that kind of dynamic. While it doesn't require the college education, I think there's
yeah.
still a value to having thousands, 100,000 interactions with other college students.
Here's another way where I think we can agree. I think a large reason that colleges is so expensive is because of inherent inefficiencies in the higher education system that lead to rent-seeking behavior on behalf of colleges. And I think
Yeah.
if we targeted that and made colleges more of a value, then I think we all could agree it would be better for society.
I actually think a lot of state university systems actually do a really good job with that. Like
I think
going
they do
to
better. Yeah.
a CSU, California. So there's the University of California system and the California State University system. Yeah, I think that does a lot of the heavy lifting what you're trying to talk about. So it's like you also remove the stigma of don't go to Cornell.
Yeah.
Go, I don't know, is University of Central Florida, is that I have no idea if that's public or private, but
yeah.
Trying to like just go to any 4-year university that has entrance exams, will provide that social environment, but also start getting practical work experience.
Yeah. And by having more opportunity, I think it'll put downward pressure on the entire industry, right? Once the supply constraints are lifted, I think things can go back to where I personally think it should be. For example, a generation ago, 2 generations ago, like our parents used to be able to go to university, pay for it with summer jobs, and graduate with no debt, right?
Yeah.
It should be like that in a well-functioning system.
Okay.
So if we can get to that, then yes, I think it's a better value. And I think the only reason we're not there is not because technology hasn't kept up. It's because of bureaucracy and supply constraints that are artificial in nature.
Okay. I feel good with that. We'll wrap up there.
Okay. Good stuff, Aaron.
Good talking to Trishul. We'll do it again next time. Again, I don't know if we'll either actually convince each other to change our minds on this, but it helps me develop my arguments a little bit better. So thank you for that.
This is probably our 5th rodeo on this particular topic.
We might have to get to an agree to disagree kind of stage.
It might be, or the AIs will finally just wipe us out, and then there'll be no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do it next. We'll do it again next time. Good talking to you, Trishul.
All right, sounds good, Aaron. If you're enjoying these conversations, please like or subscribe. Each little share or click helps. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of the Mind Money Spectrum podcast. Be sure to visit mindmoneyspectrum.com to access the entire library of episodes. Remember, it's not black and white, but the wide spectrum of gray area where you get to pursue the freedoms you want in life. Opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested in directly. Have a nice day.